If you're a general contractor, a subcontractor, or an owner, you want your jobs to be on time and on budget. And that means working with Autodesk Construction Cloud, software that lets your team design, plan, build, and operate from office to field. It means getting end-to-end solutions, seeing project data in real time, and preventing problems before they happen. Trusted on over 2 million construction jobs around the world. Build with Autodesk Construction Cloud. Try it free today at construction.autodesk.com.
Continuing on here with Roll Call Flash Forward, thank you so much for kicking off the Super Chat tonight. It's a great way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis, so thank you so much. Boom to you, gorgeous Bama. Thank you for coming on in. Catherine Serace, welcome to our channel for the first time. Grey Wolf Paranormal, nice to see you. And Paul Vidal, good to have you back. And who else is here? Oh, Indrid Cold, nice to see you again. Noble Patrick, thank you for the super chat, man. Really do appreciate that. We're going to get going here in about 30 seconds here, so let's have a good show. You know why we do this? We do this because it's a lot of fun. Hi there, gorgeous Sammy. Lovely Jenny, nice to see you. The Jim Christie is here, everyone. The Jim Christie. Stephen Padilla, welcome to our channel. Don't forget to hit subscribe. Thank you for joining us. And that's about it for right now. Jerry O'Brien, good to see you. Stephen Edmond. Do me a favor, everyone. Let's get the horns up. Let's rock. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. Thank you so much for joining us on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and now on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you, including Rockin' Up to Mumblefoot, reading up on Jerky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. It's a nice night for some UFOs and Bigfoot. Our guest, Bob Boston, will be here momentarily to talk all about the legends of Sasquatch and chasing UAP and aliens. Great experiences he's had, and I'm excited to share them with you. In hour number 3, we head over to the swamp for another edition of Swamp Dwellers Swamped. The fedora-wearing John Hudson is back. We've got Shirky Poo's news and the thought of the Dave. Bob Boston has remained active in the search for answers regarding Sasquatch for 16 years. He began his search after a face-to-face encounter in 2005. Previous encounters included having his tent being dragged off into the woods during a hunting trip with 4 of his ex-military team members back in 1992. Another one during a camping trip with his stepson in 1996 in the High Sierras, about 1 mile from where he had the face-to-face encounter. He is a combat veteran while being stationed in a quick reaction company at MacDill Air Force Base in Florida. Anywhere in the world in 24 hours. He was called, he went. We love our veterans around here. Nothing he ever experienced in combat ever came close to the sheer terror he experienced when he came face to face with the monstrous legend. Bob Boston, it is a pleasure to have you on Spaced Out Radio here tonight. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good, Dave. How are you?
Good. Thank you for being a wonderful veteran. We love our veterans on this show. Thank you for your service.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Don't quite hear it quite enough.
Well, you should. You should. But let's learn about you. Let's introduce you to our audience. You are a veteran. You are someone who has been in some of the toughest situations this world has to offer in your lifetime. And yet, it's the cryptids that seemed to scare you a little bit. Let's go back to 1996. What happened there?
96, I took my stepson out to the woods up in a place called Desolation Wilderness. And he wanted to know what it was like to be a teams guy. So we went out there and, shot each other to hell with paintball and had a good time. But then as it started to get dark, set up the military-style hooch inside a tree that had fallen. let's just say it was fallen at that point. He woke me up sometime in the middle of the night, absolutely, completely out of his mind, paranoid, completely freaking out. The kid's 13 years old and was just not, he wasn't much of an outdoors guy at that time anyway. I stopped and listened to, what it was. He's like, they're outside. And I listened, and there was at least 3 of them that circled our little hooch there for about, 2 or 3 minutes. And then they finally walked off, and when they got to the top of the ridge line above us, there was like Louisville Slugger against a hardwood tree. It was the loudest crack I had ever heard. Not being, familiar with the topic at that time, that was just one more of those things you tuck back in the back of your head. It's like, what was that? I don't know, but it stays there. So yeah, I had no idea what it was. It was going on there back then.
What was your knowledge of the subject of Sasquatch back then?
Big fat goose egg. I mean, literally zero. My uncle had been a hunting guide, and I had worked during the summers with him as a wrangler. And we were in some of the areas in Northern California and Southern Oregon that is just like, that's supposedly Sasquatch Central. We never saw anything, never heard anything. So yeah, I I figured if there was one, maybe it was up there by Willow Creek or something. But yeah, I had absolutely zero knowledge on the topic.
So when you and your stepson were out there and you were looking and hearing these noises, and you're not quite sure what these, whatever they are, were, what was your first inclination?
To be quiet and be very still. And try to keep him, get his blood pressure down, because he was really losing it. Unfortunately, at that time, we weren't armed with anything other than paintball guns, so...
But at that time, you're not thinking Sasquatch. You're thinking something else.
No, because it was upright steps, 3 of them, like literally like in a triangle circling around us. So yeah, I knew it was too late for the park rangers there because they left at 5:00. There were some summer cabins on the other side of the lake from us, but there was no flashlights or anything, so it's not like it was weird. I just had absolutely no clue what it could be other than it was upright.
Did you see any of them in the shadows or their outlines?
No, we didn't have a fire or anything going on at that time. Just could very easily pick out where they were as they circled us. But yeah, actually didn't see anything at all at that point. Just like actually I didn't see anything when the tent got dragged. I heard the flappy feet, running away after I screamed like a little girl.
Were you in the tent at that time?
I'm sorry?
Now let's go to that incident. That was in 1996?
92.
92. Okay, tell us about the tent.
Yeah, so it was me and 3 of my old team members up in a place called Snow Mountain Wilderness area, which is up in the inner coastal range. And it was very interesting because right after we went to bed, this really huge, non-typical mule deer tripped over one of the guy's tents. He had one of those backpacker tents that had the long guy lines out.
Yes.
And it tripped over the guy lines and fell right on top of his tent. And him and this deer got completely tangled up. Well, we went out there and, he's screaming like a little girl at that point. And so we got the deer untangled, and deer this size, they don't get that big and that old by making mistakes. So this thing, once we got it loose, only walked a few feet right outside the firelight. And again, I had absolutely no idea that deer will sometimes do that. We all got back into our tents, and I just got my head laid down on my pillow when right next to my face there was like a big giant index finger scratches the corner of my tent, right where the shock pole goes into. And I grabbed my 45 under my pillow, and I looked at this going, what on earth? And boom, it was off to the races. Grabbed the corner of that tent, and up the hill we went into the woods. And I ended up in the backside of the tent with all my gear just in a big, huge tumble mess. And it took me probably 2 or 3 seconds to really scream like a little girl myself, and it let go and took off running. But when I got out of the tent, where I was a good solid 50, maybe a few more yards away from, and up on top of the hill above our campsite. And that's when my buddies came, got out of their tent, like, what the heck is going on now? So we ended up spending the rest of that night taking turns doing guard duty, just to make sure nothing else weird happened. And then we left first light in the morning. We went down to a different location.
Did your buddies hear this happen?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And that's, when the crash, bang, boom, and then me squeal, and, they started coming out of their tents, but they were too far to help. That's for sure.
So this thing grabs your tent. You see the finger. That's not the first time I've heard that, by the way.
Oh, really?
Not the tent. There's a researcher in Colorado. His name is Mike Johnson, and he has a number of spots that he goes to every year to make contact. And one of his rules is they'll put the tents around the fire, but the rookie at night, this area is so active that the rookie on the campsite at night, so if it was you or me going there for the first time, we would have to sleep at the back end of the tent, because there is this one Sasquatch that will always reach onto the tent to feel the person's arm or head or whatever to see who's in there.
And he still goes camping.
Yeah, but this group that he is involved with has always been extremely friendly. Extremely friendly. Like, he has been within, 3-4 feet of these creatures, and they have not done a thing to him. Not a thing. But, that comes with trust, right? So
it does. It takes a while to build that.
Now, this Sasquatch that grabbed you, how did you not get hurt with not only all your gear?
Did.
Oh, you did. What happened?
Yeah, I got banged up pretty good because of all the gear. I had probably 250 pounds worth of gear in there, between extra rifles and ammo and, all kind of camping gear, everything else inside there. And it was a big, me and all the gear was a big jumble. So yeah, I got bruised up pretty good.
I guess you didn't sleep the rest of that night.
Not much, no. I pulled first shift because there was no way I was going to bed.
Don't blame you.
I had brought an M14 up there with me just for giggles, and I had gone up there to go hunting with a black powder rifle Hawkins that I had built, and I ended up putting that away and pulled out the M14. And that was, that was a long, long night. It was a very long night.
Were there any signs that it was coming back?
No. didn't really know what to look for anyway. So it was, whether it came in and, was looking down on us from the hill above, it could have. We didn't have any of our really good gear like night vision or thermals or anything like that with us. So yeah, all we had was just our, just our rifles. It was just supposed to be a normal hunting trip.
Yeah, not this time.
Yeah. These things don't exist anyway, right?
So they say.
So they say.
But for you, I mean, you have the encounter in 92, then again in 96. Did that put you on the path of all of a sudden having to learn everything you know about this apex creature in the forests?
Actually, what it was the face-to-face in 2005, because that was the first time that I actually got to see what it was that was out there. And to be perfectly honest, I didn't think Sasquatch when I saw this. I literally thought monster. And I was a Teams guy. The absolute terror that I went through with this thing, it really screwed me up. And so it was either I was going to be afraid of my own shadow for the rest of my life, or I was going to try and figure out what it was. And there was a friend of mine who worked for a major cell phone company, at least down here. And his job was to go maintain the cell towers, the cell sites that are up there and up in the mountains. And, he came over one day, and we used to hang out all the time, and all of a sudden I didn't. And he came over to find out what was going on. And I said, I don't know how you're going to take this, but here's what happened. And he goes, oh, it was a Sasquatch. Don't worry about it. I'm like, what? No, dude, this was a monster. It looked nothing like Patty. He goes, no, really, it was just a Sasquatch. They like to, they like to look at you and play with you and mess with you sometimes. And so he was the one that actually started getting me towards looking into that specific field. And sure enough, he was right.
Okay, so let's go back to that face-to-face encounter. Set up the picture for us. We got about 7 minutes here before we got to go to break, so we have lots of time.
Okay. I had been working for a company doing repos. I needed something to get my adrenaline flowing. And the guy who owned the company one time had asked me if I wanted to go motorcycle camping. And I said, sure. So we went up there and stopped off, got our forest permits and all that stuff. And when we set up camp, we were just inside this imaginary line that you can't see in the forest because they don't mark it. And so the forest ranger, the ones that leave at 5 o'clock, came by on his last shift and said, hey, you guys are going to have to move, or you're going to have to, pack it up and completely go, or I have to write you a ticket for $350. And we said, whoa. So I said, we'll move. And the guy that was with me decided, he kind of had a short fuse anyway. So he, just threw in the towel, said, screw this. I'm going to go to, go get drunk in town. Well, I go, well, okay. I didn't come up here to party. So I went off by myself and went and set up camp in a different location next to this little waterfall. Did some fishing, had a good time, went to lay down to go to sleep, and I had just laid down. I mean, we're talking minutes, and all of a sudden I hear this, I would have to call it a growl, but it was so deep and so loud that it literally made my organs and my ribs rattle, and had that same 45 with me as a pillow. And I jumped up and was looking through the top of the tent because I didn't put the rain fly on it. And about 15, 20 feet away, there was a tree up on top of this little bit of dirt. And I could see underneath the tree, it was on all fours. And I just automatically thought bear, because Bigfoot doesn't exist, right? Anyway, I didn't want to shoot the bear, because the last thing I did, it's not for just doing its bear thing, right? So there was a stump between us, and I shot that stump, and it like completely shredded that tree and the next tree behind it, and screamed. And I'm like, oh my God, what is, So I ended up moving my tent from where it was out onto this big flat piece of white granite that was out there, and ended up spending the rest of that night fully awake too. But this thing kept screwing with me all night long, throwing rocks, and just every time something would happen, I would like quick look at my watch. My military training was kicking in, and my PTSD was flared to the nines. And it was 4:40 in the morning when I had fallen asleep outside the tent in this little shadowed cubby. And I snapped awake, and I looked where my old tent was, or my tent had been. It wasn't there. I looked this way. I didn't see nothing. Looked this way, and there was this tall, skinny tree that was real sparse. It was high altitude there, about 8,000 feet. And it didn't look right. There was too much of a shadow. And then all of a sudden, she just stepped out sideways. And well, let's say I wet my pants. She took 3 steps really quick at me, and I fired one warning shot, skipped it off of the granite, not at her, but kind of. She stopped and just sat there, and she sounded like a major asthmatic while she was taking her left hand and making a fist and letting it go, and a fist and letting it go. And I'm sitting there realizing that I don't have enough gun here. She's huge. It was a female, but she's absolutely huge.
Huge how?
And finally she snaps her head and she looks off to her right a bit, looked back at me and did a huff, and then turned and walked away. I was...
Keeping your pet happy and healthy. That's what Chewy is all about, which is why we offer veterinary diets, prescriptions, even compounded medications customized for your pet, so you can get what they need to feel good. Shop America's #1 pet pharmacy. Visit Chewy.com today.
Over 2 million construction jobs around the world are taking their projects to the next level. From roadways to railways, from skyscrapers to homes. Make your vision a reality. Build with Autodesk Construction Cloud. Try it free today at construction.autodesk.com.
It was a mess.
Kind of like you're not any fun anymore.
Exactly, right? She was having fun until then, I guess. But, wow.
I want to ask you a couple questions about this, if you don't mind. When you say that she was huge, what's huge?
Well, my tent was 42 inches tall. I actually had to measure that because. She was more than twice as tall as the tent was from where I was sitting. So 8-footer, but it's not just the height, it's the girth. And I think that's probably what scared me more than the height, because, massive, like absolutely massive, but like barrel chested. She wasn't, like the bodybuilder, but her arms were bigger than my legs, and her legs were way bigger than my waistline. She's just enormous.
How did you know it was a she?
She had boobs.
That's
very large, pendulous boobs.
Well, that's one easy way to tell. I think she wanted to date.
You're not the first one that has actually.
I'm not even joking.
You're not the first one that said that, and I'm hoping that wasn't the case. But you're just not the first one that actually said that.
No, but here you are. It was, I guess, at that time of the morning, the sun would have, or the sky wouldn't have been as dark. It would have been starting to get a little lighter.
Yeah, not quite yet, but it would get there, By about 6 o'clock in the morning, it was light enough to to try and find out where she had gone when she walked away, because she went directly away from me and went around this boulder, and that was it. That was the last time I saw her. But when I walked over there to find out where she had gone, there was another boulder that I couldn't see from that location. So I'm not sure how she got out of there. If she had climbed up on top of it, I would have very easily seen her. So I don't know.
Well, we're going to continue the Sasquatch chat when we return here on Spaced Out Radio. Robert Boston, American military veteran, Sasquatch UFO researcher. We're going to get heavy into Sasquatch coming up. I mean, these stories are great. Personal encounters, that's my kind of night here on SOR. We'll be back right after this. When I see a lot of new faces in the chat room, I always kind of like to let people know that we are not your typical podcast. Okay, we are actually a live radio show that's going to be going out on 6 different radio stations. And so during the breaks, we actually take breaks at the bottom and top of the hour, and you guys kind of get to hear the behind the scenes, but for the radio side of things, they don't get to hear that. So I know it's a little bit different. I know it's something that you're not used to, but we really appreciate you understanding. And thank you to all the new people probably coming in from Duke's World Bigfoot Radio. Do us a favor, hit that subscribe button. We're here literally 7 days a week for your listening entertainment. I'm here Monday through Friday. Lynn Wallington is here with Spaced Out Weekends, starting Saturday and Sundays at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. And then after her show, we have the After Hours show with Big Willie, Gemma Jade, and John Hudson. So it's always a good time here on SOR. So thank you so much. I want to say, instead of me typing it in, hello, Ghost66. Hi, Bruce. Thanks for coming on in. Let's see here. Who else is new? Carlito, good to see you. Scary Gary, nice to have you back. Peter Venkman, it's been a while. Thank you for joining us. Peppa H, nice to have you here. And The Quick, always a pleasure to see you, my friend. Hi, Miss Pickles, looking lovely tonight. And we're all caught up. So thank
Christy
you.
Sci-Fi also.
Yeah, she's brand new.
Today's her birthday.
Is it Christy Sci-Fi's birthday? Well, look at that. Look at that. The lovely and talented Christy Sci-Fi girl's birthday. She loves herself some Robert. Adam Lane, how you doing? Let's just sing to her right now. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Christy Sci-Fi girl. Happy birthday to you. All right, let's light her candle here. There we go.
Oh, there you go. Look at that.
Blow it out, Christy. There you go. All right, that was a good one. And you know what? That felt good. That felt good. I'm not going to lie. Real Supernatural, girl. Welcome to the show. Aiden Gonzalez, how you doing? And the gorgeous Carla, nice to have you back. Ed Clater, good to see you. And anybody else come in here that I don't know? Russell Gill. I think I'm all caught up on names now. I think. Yeah, I think I'm caught up. I think we got about 2 minutes here. Let me see here. My daughter's birthday is on Monday. She'll be 23. 23.
Wow. Mine just turned 25, and I'm like, where did that... I remember bringing her home.
Yep.
She was just this little tiny...
Oh, yeah. Simon Condon, how are you? If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring that bell. It's somewhere down here. I can't reach through Bob's screen, but somewhere down there, if you don't mind hitting that subscribe button, we'd really appreciate it. James Smith, nice to see you. In case you all don't know, we are having a Las Vegas party in Las Vegas, Nevada. SOR fan party, just hanging on out, April 22nd and 24th. If you're new and you're wanting to go, confirm with us. The first 50 people confirmed will get their name in to a swag bag, and that way you get a shirt and some other swag from us. So if you want to go, just confirm 100%, not 92%, not 99%, 100% confirm that at info@spacedoutradio.com, and we will get you a nice bag. Oh, it's Dave Spinks there, Real Supernatural. Hey, buddy, how you been doing? Got to get you back on the show here soon. All right, we got about 45 seconds. I want to say a big thank you to Flash Forward, Noble Patrick, Rex, and Doug for the amazing super chats, and thank you so much for the love. The super chat is a great way to support what we do on a nightly basis here on Spaced Out Radio, so thank you so much. We also at this time say hi to all of our regulars who are here each and every night. We love you, and thank you for making it fun. All the veterans out there, you always have a safe home in our chat room. Hi, Jazz. How you doing? And to all the new people coming on in, make yourself comfy, get yourself a drink. And like I said earlier, we're here each and every night for you. If you want some Spaced Out Radio swag, head to our website and do some shopping. Here we go. Second half hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate it. Want to remind you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot, reading Shirky Poo's Newswire, checking out all our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and now on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We continue on tonight talking Sasquatch and UFOs all night long. Bob Boston is with us. He's a former military veteran of the United States military, and now he's chasing the monsters. Why not? It's always a little bit more fun. Anyways, Bob, thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me on.
Now, right before the break, we were talking about this very intimate, almost romantic encounter you had with a female Sasquatch who, dolled up her makeup and, was putting on the eyeliner when you decided to fire your shotgun at her,
Well, possibly, yeah.
But for you, I would like you to explain to our audience, if you don't mind, what it's like to be that close to one of these creatures.
Well, when you've never seen one, you never experienced one that you knew what it was anyway. You don't believe they exist, or you just never had any evidence that they exist. It's like completely scrambling your brain. By the time I made it home, which was about a 3.5 hour ride back to the Bay Area, I was an absolute mess. I was extremely sleepy because I'd been awake for most of the evening, and as soon as I got home, I plopped down on the couch and instantly fell asleep, and then instant nightmare that woke me up, like literally screaming in a cold sweat. So I ended up not sleeping for a good solid 6 months after that. I couldn't take my dog outside to do his business at night without packing some serious firepower, and there was no history of any sightings up there in that area where I was at. It really screwed me up. I mean, really bad. The only other time that I had ever had an incident that even came close to that was watching my son when he was 7 years old get hit by a car right in front of me.
Oh my!
And I mean that was horrific. But I would have to say, being face to face was a little worse. Just maybe just a little bit, you know. It takes, you know, as humans, especially males, we have a tendency to like compartmentalize anything that we know of as knowledge in our brain. You know, we put things in boxes where we think that they fit, and you know, once we're done, everything's right in the world. It was like everything, all of those boxes got dumped on the floor and just scattered about. To be honest, they're not, all those boxes aren't picked back up yet. So yeah, it really, you know, it really gives me, I get a kick out of people that have never seen one and usually aren't outside, but they're interested in the topic and they say, "Oh, I want to see one." No, you don't. You really don't. I mean, it is it's an experience for sure.
Oh, okay, so how far away was this creature from you?
15 feet.
My God.
15 feet. Actually measured when we went back up there and taped off where she was standing. There was a big stain on top of this big white sheet of granite, and she was standing right on top of that. So from the little cubby that I had found from there to that stain was 15 feet.
What do you think that stain? What do you think that stain was? Was it blood from an animal, or maybe urine from
no,
this
it was
creature?
probably iron residues or something, because there was the whole area was granite and decomposed granite, and that area during the winter will literally have 20 feet of snow sitting on the ground. And so the reason I put my tent where it was is because where it came down that waterfall, it had put a lot of sand right there, and so there was like this big sand pad that I put the tent on just to ease up on the back a little bit. But the heck with that. I was yeah.
A lot of people who pray for that type of encounter, like my encounter that I've been privy to, is I was within 100 feet of two of them. And that was back in 2013. And I didn't feel any fear, but I was just in awe. I never got a look at him face to face, the closer one. The other one was hiding behind a tree and kind of doing that peering thing that they do.
Around.
Yeah. And the second one, though, which was at about 75 feet, I got a full right side and back profile. I never saw the head, and I think there was three there, because where that second one walked through, there was a tree branch shaking that caught my attention. Something had to be shaking that. So if we had one behind the tree, the second one that I saw walking right through where this tree branch was shaking, there had to be something else shaking it. And that's my opinion of it. And I'll tell you, it's amazing how small you feel when you see literally something the size of Andre the Giant with hair, or Shaquille O'Neal with hair, you know, walking through the forest very subtly.
Yes, absolutely. They're just so massive, and if your experience turns out to be a pleasant one, awe is a very, very good word for it. It really is. Because after I had got back out in the field and started searching for these, there had been quite a few times where I've come face to face again, but in a much more civilized manner than that. There was none of this, I want to kill you. And awe is a very, very good word for it, especially the experiences that I had over in Germany. I had more up in the Sierras in like 2007 through to about 2010. But Yeah, awe is a very, very good word for it.
Now, you have studied this creature over in Germany. We don't think of this creature being European. I mean, yes, we've heard of the Yeti and the Urals and right through to where Mount Everest is, but we don't know about this creature being in Western Europe. Let's We're going to do a big jump on your calendar here. Let's jump over to Europe and Germany. And what made you study the creature there?
When I got there, I had, like everybody else, had never heard of anything in Western Europe. Maybe some stuff in the lower parts of Eastern Europe, Romania, and and those areas, but nothing in Western Europe. I figured it was done. My Bigfooting days was over, and I had married a German national, an old girlfriend from when I was stationed over there, and we went for a walk at this. It was actually a hunting cabin for the old king of Baden-Württemberg, and it had a lake out there in front of the place, and there was like little benches around this lake. And so we just stopped to take a break. And I pulled out my phone to pull a selfie of us. And directly behind me in the woods was a giant X formation. And I saw that and I went, wait a minute, what? There's an X formation back there. And a couple other, I went up into the woods, and yeah, there was a couple of arches and everything else up there. So I was kind of shocked at it. So when we got home, I went online and started looking for reports out of Germany and France and Belgium, and I found a few. I didn't know that there were any local, because where I had seen this X formation was probably 40 clicks away. So I didn't know that there was anything local. But my wife, her mother, worked at an old folks home. And when she was young, she had done some volunteer work there. But there was this one particular space like pretty much the whole time she's walking, she would walk to work. But the whole time that she was doing this, on her left side was a forest across the street. And there was always one particular spot that gave her the willies. She didn't know why, but I figured, when she told me this, I thought, well, let's go see why. What was it about this place that would freak her out? So I went over there and brought a camera along, and I had my iPhone. It was an iPhone 6 at that time, running video tucked in my t-shirt pocket. So I had, 2 cameras running. And as soon as you walk into that, it was an old Roman road that had been there for, thousands of years. There was a restaurant on the right, and then maybe 50 meters past that, there was a house on the left that had this really insane psychotic dog in the yard, which had like an 8-foot fence, privacy fence all the way around this place. And as soon as I went walking by that, here's this X formation leaning up against the back of the fence, right? And I went, oh, there we go. And I don't know, another 50 meters or so, and all of a sudden here's rocks, little tiny pebbles coming down through the trees. And I'm watching these. They're coming from the left, then they start coming from the right. And I went, wow. And then I saw one from the left actually leave the ground, and it was behind this big row of blackberry bushes. And I went, aha. So I've got my camera, my Nikon running, and not very much further, it sounds like an 80s hairband drummer losing his mind up in this top of this tree. So I started to pan my camera up, and all of a sudden I heard my phone in my pocket. Like,
National Car Rental has your back, road warriors. Because we know you want to get back to going your speed. You're hitting the road. And National's helping you get there with the confidence of our complete clean pledge. So get back to skipping the counter without missing a beat. Back to choosing any car in the aisle. And back to being the boss of you. National Car Rental. Go like a pro. Subject to availability and other restrictions. Requires enrollment in the complimentary Emerald Club.
If you're a general contractor, a subcontractor, or an owner, you want your jobs to be on time and on budget. And that means working with Autodesk Construction Cloud, software that lets your team design, plan, build, and operate from office to field. It means getting end-to-end solutions, seeing project data in real time, and preventing problems before they happen. Trusted on over 2 million construction jobs around the world. Build with Autodesk Construction Cloud. Try it free today at construction.autodesk.com.
Literally electronic sizzle. Something just fried out. I had no idea what it was, but something just fried. So I pulled my phone out, and it's just a black screen. Oh, well, okay. But at least I still have the Nikon. I had no idea, but at the exact moment that the iPhone failed, so did the SD card in that camera. The camera still works, but that SD card was completely fried. It was done. I spent probably 2 or 3 weeks digging into what could actually cause 2 electronic devices to fail like that simultaneously. And the only thing that I could find was a EMF pulse. That was it. Electromagnetic pulse was the only thing I could find. And so I started carrying an EMF detector with me in the field. And that's when things really started to get pretty insane. I mean, some of the readings that I have on camera are just, they're so high, like, 1800 millivolts and stuff like that. And getting readings that high in the 15 to 1600 millivolts off of wood structures. It just made absolutely no sense to me, but there they go. Yeah, that was very interesting. That's what actually really got me going on that journey over there. On the weekends, the Germans pretty much invade the forests over there. They all go for their little nature walks and do their thing. But one of the things that they never do is they never leave the path, ever. The trees that were on the right, it went downhill for probably 200 yards or so, and then there was this really large meadow. I mean, it was so big, it was one of those you could see from space without a problem. It was huge. So I had this crazy idea that while the Germans would be walking on the weekend down that trail, we're talking 40 or 50% of the population out there. I would assume that they would probably pull back closer towards the meadow. So I went around, parked by the meadow, and went in the trees on that side, completely off trail. Oh well. Yeah, my wife was with me that day, and we saw some very, very interesting things. It was crazy. Some of the things that I got on camera that day, like this one thing, I don't even know what the heck it is. It was about 7 feet tall, short white hair, very, very, very skinny, lanky, and the face literally looked like skin stretched over a skull.
Ew.
Yeah, it was very bizarre. And I had swept through with the camera on this side and saw her hiding behind some trees, back in the trees. And as I came back again, I don't know, 5 seconds later, she had stepped forward in behind a double tree that had grown together. And she was standing there with her arms crossed, with just one eye looking at me. And it, still at the time did not see it. We turned around to leave, and we got zapped, me and my wife. Every time that I've ever been zapped, it kind of scrambles my noodle, and it's like my blood pressure goes just flat out to 0. That's it, and I'm hitting the ground. The wife, on the other hand, though, ended up with like immediate projectile vomiting. And that was it for her for the rest of the day. She went out in the middle of that meadow and just sat down. Well, I did a little more digging further up in there, and when I went into that section where she had been, the amount of structures that were in there, extremely complex ones, teepees and A-frames with crossbars, and just, trees that had been stripped of the bark and the branches that had been woven through other trees about 4 or 5 feet off of the ground, literally in a curve. It was pretty insane.
I gotta ask you, in regards to the EMPs that you were getting hit with, when you had this happen, what did it feel like? Did it feel like you were having or being hit with a migraine, like an instantaneous migraine? Because my buddy Mark had something like that happen when we were in an area where we had been previously chased out by Sasquatch, where all of a sudden we went in that area and it was like an instant pounding headache for him.
I've heard of quite a few people that have had that. With me, it was like literally my blood pressure goes down to nothing, and I'm like falling to the ground. But then as I start to recover from that, sometimes for several days afterwards, my brain is scrambled. It's like, I lost 100 IQ points. It was I don't know left from right, can't think straight, but I've never had the headache that some people end up getting. So depending upon how people react to EMF, some people get paranoid, others get, like I did, or projectile vomiting. There's all kinds of different ways that people react to really high EMF. Which is one of the things, a lot of people think that getting zapped is infrasound, which I believe they probably have that capability, but I don't think that that's what's actually doing it. Because every time I had been zapped, and I got zapped quite a few times over there, I had that EMF detector in my pocket, and it would like start losing its mind. So, I don't know, maybe it's both. But that was crazy. That was some really crazy stuff. Later that night, though, because we'd been out there, or I had been out there so long, like I said, the wife was just sitting in the meadow. That restaurant that I had just mentioned that was on the road, that old Roman road, we ended up going there, and the way the restaurants are over there is most of them end up with like outdoor seating, and they had outdoor seating there, but it was kind of cool. So they didn't have anybody open, work or sitting out there, but that's where the smoking area was. And she and I went outside for a smoke, and there was like out the door there was a sidewalk, a fence, and then there's the forest. And we could hear something walking around out there. No flashlights, completely pitch black, dark out there, but we could hear footsteps. And so we're starting whispering to each other, "Hey, do you hear that?" She goes, "Yeah, I hear that." She's like, "It's over there." And so we got closer to that fence, and it was just a little, like a 3-foot chain link fence. But this restaurant had some excellent food. Oh my God, that food was so good. And the hood system, ventilation system for the kitchen would blow that smell out over the forest. And the dumpster was like right there at the end of the building. So we figured, well, maybe they're coming in and, raiding the dumpsters at night. But while we're, whispering back and forth at each other, our heads are this close, like 12 inches. And a rock went literally between our faces and hit the stucco wall of the restaurant. And I swear it sounded like a .22 shot when it hit that wall. We both went like, oh, and started laughing. And I guess it didn't like it very much. So it took off, but another one of those things where we didn't get to see it, but
that leads to the obvious question. You know, when you get these EMPs and everything that is happening, to me, it leads to the obvious question, what do you think Sasquatch is? Because here is the great debate. Is it an animal? Is it something a little bit more spiritual, like many indigenous people believe? Is it something that has supernatural capabilities? What is your thinking?
I'm going to have to go with the natives on this one. And maybe even further than that. I spent it was like the first 9 years in the field looking for either a North American great ape or a caveman, indigenous caveman or something that somehow made it through evolution, which wasn't something I really, got off on at the time anyway. And I got to tell you, for 9 years, I spent literally running in circles. I got nowhere. I had seen a couple of them, but there wasn't anything that it seemed supernatural or metaphysical or anything at that point. But the only weird thing I had was standing next to, me and technology, not so good.
Well, let's hold that thought. Let's hold that thought because we do have to go to break here at the top of the hour. So we're going to continue the Sasquatch talk for another 30 minutes here on Spaced Out Radio. Then we may try to zoom in on some UFOs. Great guest tonight, Bob Boston. Check it out, Sasquatch. In Germany, in North America. It's everywhere. Feel the woo, people. Hour 2 is next. Spaced Out Radio. Now, I just want to address something in the chat room here. Okay, Little Marky Spender. Of course, Matt can run faster than me. All right. He's going to have to be shot in the leg so us fat guys can walk away, okay? Matt, you are the official sacrificial lamb of our team. You're the rookie. You're the new guy. And when you run off, buddy, and can't handle the situation, Mark, just remember, Mark is a marksman and will take out your leg. So that way him and I get away safely. So thank you, Mark, for making that comparison so that way I don't get shot in the leg so you can get away, you dirty bastard. Right? Come on. Let's make this happen. Let's say hello to Christina. Welcome to our channel. Thank you for joining us. Who else has arrived? Shannon Reish, welcome to SOR Chat. Gorgeous Gloria, good to have you back. And I believe we are caught up on people here. And yes, please do us a favor. Put all of your questions in capital letters. Unless you're Little Marky Spender just trying to... a.k.a. Timber Hunter, trying to, get me hurt in the forest. Yeah. So I'm just saying, jerk. Justin Maynard, how are you? That's my best friend right there, Bob. That's my best friend. Is it? Yeah.
I don't know if mine is still in the chat or not. Barry Brown Construction, are you still here?
I don't know.
It's pretty late where he's at, so he's 2 hours ahead of me. But Christy Sci-Fi Gal is there still.
Yes.
Another dear friend.
So once again, for all the new people who are tuning on in, this may be your first time listening to us. If you like what you see, do us a favor, hit that subscribe button. We are here 7 days a week for you, but we are a live radio show, which is why we take breaks at the top and bottom of the hour. I know we're not your ordinary YouTube podcast or anything along those lines. We are timing everything out for our 6 terrestrial radio stations that carry this show. So just bear with us, enjoy the break, and we'll get into all the good stuff coming on in. Christy, yes, Bigfoot can move fast enough to get all 3 of us. Very true. Hi, Tristan Stevens. How are you? And hello, Immortal Hydra. Welcome to SOR. But either way, I know that I can outrace Mark Spender, a.k.a. Timber Hunter, but I only have to wait for Sasquatch to grab a hold of him first before I can get away properly. That's all that matters. And yes, we know that from experience. Mark and I and another buddy, Merle, actually got chased out of the forest by two of them. The one was doing the samurai chatter in the forest talking to us. So that was kind of interesting back in 2018. Hard to believe that's 4 years ago, Mark.
Time goes fast.
Yeah.
2005 was a long time ago.
Yeah.
God, that was a long time ago. My daughter wasn't even born then.
The gorgeous Jordan Ashley Pettit has returned. Yes. We've got about 1, 2... about 2.5 minutes here. Hey, Bob, what about the others? We'll get into some audience questions coming up here, okay?
Yeah. We can talk about the others. And I think BMR asked what color was the one I had seen up there in 2005. She was chocolate brown.
Yeah. We'll get to the questions when we're on the radio. What were we talking about right before the break? Now I forget.
The differences in the ways that people...
Yeah, that's right. That's right. We'll continue with that when we come back. Thank you for that.
You bet.
Somebody's got to know what the hell is going on around here. Why would it be the host?
Because you do it every single night.
Oh, my goodness.
Days run together.
Very true.
They really run together.
You wouldn't believe it. How true that statement is. Want to say a big thank you to Flash Forward, Noble Patrick, Rex, and Doug for the amazing super chats. It's a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. Yes, the super chat is open, and we appreciate it. And what else can I tell you? Lynn Wallington this weekend, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. She kicks off Spaced Out Weekend tomorrow with her guest, Carlene Linksweiler. Yeah, they're going to get deep into the metaphysics. It's going to be great. You'll love Carlene. And then after the shows, of course, After Hours with Gemma Jade, Big Willie, and John Hudson. We got you here 7 days a week here on Spaced Out, so make sure you check it on out. We would appreciate that. Yes, we would. Yes, we would. 20 seconds.
Oh, the question was, are they flesh and blood animals or something? That was the question.
All right, bear with me here, my friend. Here starts hour 2.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Xenolalia. Xenolalia is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and now on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We are talking experiences with Sasquatch. Our guest tonight, Robert Boston, has had numerous experiences throughout his life, both in North America and in Germany. And we're going to continue on with the Sasquatch talk as we speak. And right before the break, Bob, I was talking to you about, flesh and blood versus something spiritual. You're leaning towards more spiritual, supernatural with this creature. Why is that?
Yes. I'd started to say that the first 9 years I was looking for something that was just, an animal, great ape, et cetera, because that's what the so-called experts said they were. But once I got over to Germany, a lot of the stuff that I was seeing and experiencing over there and filming was anything but. I mean, they literally were not acting like a person or a deer or a bear that you'd find in the wild. They had the ability to disappear. They had a speed that is literally unfathomable. And who knows? Maybe that's what it is that leads them to be able to disappear. Maybe they're just like really taking off at a tremendous speed. I've never seen anything like that other than jet aircraft. As I started doing more digging, the Native American in the U.S. as well as some of the First Nations, said that they were supernatural, that they had abilities, that they lived underground. There was a lot of different, depending on, what part of the country they were in, they had, different ideas, but there were certain things that just kept occurring over and over and over again. But I didn't see any of that when I was in the U.S. When I got to Europe, though, it was all over the place. And the majority of them over there, and I don't know if it's because of the
Over 2 million construction jobs around the world are taking their projects to the next level, from roadways to railways, from skyscrapers to homes. Make your vision a reality. Build with Autodesk Construction Cloud. Try it free today at construction.autodesk.com.
over-the-top gun laws that they have over there, or what, but they were considerably more mild. Let's just call them that. I'm not going to say nice and peaceful, but let's just say mild, because quite often they just didn't want me in their area, and I would get zapped or I'd have rocks thrown at me, but it wasn't like they were whizzing them past my head trying to hit me or come really close to hitting a tree nearby me or something. Most of them were those tall arcing ones that come down and land next to you, which how the heck do they even do that? Rocks bouncing off the tree limbs, and yet it still ends up landing right at your feet. That doesn't make any sense.
No, but that it doesn't, for sure.
It doesn't. I mean, because, like a pinball, it bounces off things. It could hit you. It could end up, 50 feet away. But it was always like the rock would land right at my feet, right in front of me or right next to me. It's like I said, that just doesn't even make any sense. But there was a time, there was one particular one that I really got along well with, and I got a good picture of him standing next to a tree with a little forked birch branch next to his eye. And I later went and measured that, and it was 11 feet 6 inches to his eye. So he was a good solid 12 feet. And I had measured him as he had tried to slip between these two trees, and I measured that space. And so at his shoulders, he was a solid 6-footer. So he was the top dog in that section of the forest. He was the alpha. And yet he would sit on one side of this blackberry hedge next to this big tall stump with his arm around it, and just sit there and look at me. And I would be on the other side because I couldn't figure out how to get back there through those blackberries and look at him. And everything was peaceful. And as long as I didn't try to raise the camera, he was cool. But as soon as I would bring that camera up, it was like, choo, he was gone. I mean, off through, and you literally wouldn't even see him take off. He was that fast. It was crazy. So trying to get him on camera, I started using the zoom on it from on the other side of the meadow, and that's when I started seeing other little beings, the others, and watching them, usually around some of his clan, sucking on a like a tall weed, like the stalk of a tall weed, sucking on that and just like fade out, gone. And like, so there was so much of this weird stuff. I'm going, there's no way that this can just be some flesh and blood people, at least from this dimension, from our dimension, you know. And at that time, there was a lot of woo talk and a lot of talk about interdimensional stuff. This was like 2015, and I had to really start taking that into consideration. And so instead of continuing to look for just some, upright, hairy people that was, really good at hiding, I had to start looking into that. And as soon as I did, it was like the floodgates opened. I mean, oh my God, it was insane. So there were the ones I called the others, little people, others that were fully mature, fully grown, but only about 4.5, 5 feet tall. Also hairy, kind of looked like them, but had a really large nose on it. And I was able to get the majority of these things on camera. So it was pretty insane. The other thing that I noticed was that a couple of the consumer-grade cameras that I had, the video cameras, were only good for a couple of months in the field because of all the high EMF. So the last camera I ended up, God, I spent some big bucks on that one, is shielded against EMF. A lot of the news crews use it. So I ended up switching to that, and I never had any more problems with it. So, in fact, I still have it over there in the corner. But yeah, it was pretty crazy stuff.
I want to ask you something about these others.
The others.
Why do you call them the others?
They're not Sasquatch. They're not aliens. I don't know I didn't know at the time what to call them. So I was actually the guy that coined that phrase, and now it's actually pretty common use down here. Sometimes they're only 12 inches tall. Sometimes they look like people. Sometimes they look like little hairy, like monkeys. And I mean, they're very, very strange stuff. So I didn't really know what to classify them as, but then I started seeing green people in the woods, 4 to 5 feet tall, all green, and not necessarily dressed in green, but like literally all green. Their skin was green. And when I started looking into some of the more, the Welsh and Irish and the legends up there, those started falling into the leprechaun category. And I'm going, wait a minute, what the heck am I really dealing with over here?
There is, in northern British Columbia, there are the 4 to 5 foot green people.
I did not know that.
I just found this out about 2.5 weeks ago.
Holy smokes.
Yeah, and they are all in the forest around this one reservation.
And again, around the reservations.
How's that? How's that for confirmation?
Yeah, for real. Wow.
I want to ask you, you have a lot of photographic evidence, and unfortunately you're not going to show any tonight. What do you do with your evidence? Have you released any of it?
Yeah, actually, Duke has put quite a bit of it up on his channel a couple of times. We've done interviews, and he likes pics, so I'd sent him quite a few of them. My channel is now active. I had somebody that was going on my channel and grabbing all the good little clips, all the good evidence. Oh, there's one standing in the open. And they were posting it on message boards all over the U.S., claiming it was theirs. That one guy even tried to copyright one of my videos. So I ended up pulling everything down, and it had been down for several years. But I recently just put that back up. Probably, I don't know. Well, it was right before we did that panel there, New Year's Eve or whatever it was.
That is scummy that somebody would do that.
I know, right? It's just, there's a lot of people that they've got 1 million subs, but all their content is, just going around and stealing other people's little clips and stringing them together. They were trying to do the same thing with mine.
I just had a monetized channel the other day. I had a couple people pointed out to me that a monetized UFO channel that was using 2 of my interviews without my permission.
Ugh.
And making money off making money off of it, and I've never been so proud to throw a copyright strike before.
There you go. Very good.
You got to protect what you got. I got some audience questions here for you. Grant Tavius would like to know, what color was the one that you had seen face to face, Bob?
The face to face female was she was all brown. In fact, her skin looked like a Hershey's milk chocolate bar. The exact same color. The hair was a little darker, but the skin was, because you can see through the skin, especially on the chest. The skin was the exact same color as a Hershey's milk chocolate bar. The majority of the ones that I had seen over in Europe, though, were black, except for the one that I called Big Red, and he was the typical auburn-colored, reddish-brown hair. But he had pointy ears that stuck up above the top of his head. He was pretty wild.
No kidding. All right, let's get to another question. Mr. Cowley is asking, do you think that Yeti can just disappear?
Well, if we're talking about Yeti in Nepal and Tibet, I don't know. But if we're talking about the same critters over here, based on what I saw over there, I think it's a very distinct possibility. There have been times where I can hear them. I hear the sound coming from right over there, and yet I'm not seeing anything. And yet when I would look through the camera, and I'm the only thing I can think of is that digital cameras these days are able to look into different light spectrums than what our eyes can see. They would show up. So, it's my buddy. He has a theory that maybe they're just at a higher vibrational rate than what our eyes are capable of seeing, because we only see a tiny little spectrum of only reflected light. So I don't know.
See, and I agree with you, and I have a feeling this is the reason why we don't get any high-quality video or photographs, is because this creature has the ability to almost make itself blurry. I know that sounds real science fiction. I know it sounds ridiculous, but we're not all that bad photographers.
No, we're not, and especially with some really serious high-def, very expensive gear. No, we're not.
All right, Larry wants to know, Bob, do you think Bigfoot are interdimensional beings?
I think that is a very strong possibility. But what a lot of people get confused is interdimensional versus just spirit, a spirit being. And that I absolutely do not believe that they are just simply a spirit being. I took and hired a physicist that was working out at CERN. She was a professor at the university down in Innsbruck, Austria. I literally hired her to ask her some of these questions, and it was pretty surprising. A lot of it was like way over my head because she was, a heck of a lot smarter on the subject than I was. But what it boiled down to was that if they could harness a power source on their side, they could punch a hole through and step into our dimension, and they could, go back through the same process. And I'm thinking to myself, well, what the heck kind of power source? While the Earth spinning is an amazing power source. And I asked her, is that, would that be strong enough? Would that be a possibility? And she said, oh, absolutely. Because that was one of the things that they were doing down there, was trying to punch holes in reality. Crazy.
Totally crazy. Totally crazy. All right, let's get to another question here. Vinny in Winnipeg is asking, Bob, you mentioned extreme speed. Perhaps they are moving interdimensionally, and that's what makes it look like they are traveling fast. What is your opinion?
Again, that is a possibility, because some of the things that I had seen, especially when I was up doing some research with a friend, a German gal up in Wiesbaden, she and I both saw one that had been at this bushes, and we pulled the bushes away, and this thing turned, and within that fast, and I mean that fast, this thing was a couple of 100 meters away and going off at an angle. This thing was just like so gone, so fast. I looked at her and said, "Did you see that?" She says, "Yes, I saw that. You saw that?" It was crazy. And it isn't just them that seems to have that speed. It's also those that I called the others. I had for lack of a better term, a stick man made of sticks, like materialized coming out of a bush. And literally its whole head and body was made of sticks, little pieces of stick.
I got to ask how big he was.
About probably, again, 4.5 feet tall.
My son and I were I got to tell you this. My son and I, we were out geocaching on one of my local trails about 2.5 miles from my house and about a mile from my buddy Mark, who I mentioned earlier. And my son was 3 at the time. He's now 5. So this is going on 5.5 years ago. And I had him in a stroller, and we went up this knoll, found the geocache, started to come down this knoll, and all of a sudden this little 18-inch wood nymph, I don't know what to call it, I call it a wood nymph, okay, with little like cartoon arms and little cartoon legs, comes walking up the side of the hill or the embankment where the lake is probably 40 feet down below, 50 feet down below. And it walks right on the trail, it stops, it looks at us, and then boom, like lightning speed, takes off right back down the embankment. But one thing I remember about this, and I had my glasses on, it was blurry.
Yes. I had been walking my dog, and I had my iPhone going, and when this thing like materialized out and like literally stepped right in front of me, like it was trying to go where I was just coming from, and it looked up, saw me, and I was shooting video, and it turned and went back through that bush. There was a creek that was running through there, and it got into that creek and was gone. I mean, the speed was insane, but it's the same speed as all of them. They're just incredibly quick.
Oh yeah.
And so, is it interdimensional? Is it, they're running at a higher vibration? Are they able? I even considered one time that maybe they're able to bend space time. Unfortunately, I have more questions than answers, and that seems like the way it's always going to be. It just can't get good answers to this because there really isn't anybody that has those answers. But a wood nymph, that's a very good way to put them.
Yeah, I honestly didn't know how else to put it, but that's kind of where we're at. We've got about 90 seconds to go here. Let's get to Kim's question. Bob, why do you think you see them so easily when others are looking for a lifetime?
That is one of the questions I have been trying to answer. I mean, I even, back when my channel was really active and I was really posting a lot, I was doing a survey. Have you ever seen a ghost? Have you ever seen UFOs? Why is it that certain people, some people have said, well, those of us that do are somehow marked, or maybe they're more open than others. I don't know. I really don't know, but that's another one of those questions I would really love to get an answer to, because I didn't want this. I really didn't. I was 40 years old when this happened. 42 years old, the first time I actually saw one, the face-to-face.
Yeah.
I didn't want it.
It's amazing, man. It is absolutely amazing how that can go, and I agree with you. I think that there is a marking or some sort of scent of trust or something that they are picking up from the person. I really don't know. Bob, I'm going to get you to hold on right there because we are going to go to break here. At the bottom of the hour here, we have Bob Boston, another half hour here on Spaced Out Radio. We're going to get into some UFOs because he has had some incredible UFO and alien experiences as well, and that is something I definitely want to hit on with him. And, of course, coming up in hour 3, we got the Swamp Dweller. We have the fedora-wearing John Hudson. And Shirky Poo's News, the Thought of the Dave. A lot more to go here on Spaced Out Radio as we crack the halfway point. We'll be back right after this. I'm going to let you talk to the audience here. I'm just going to take a quick bathroom break. I'll be right back, okay?
All right. I'm going to get a glass of water, and then I'll be right back. Hiya, caramba. All right. Does this mean we are alone? Hey, does Bob know about Sasquatch having the ability to blend in the background and surroundings almost like a chameleon? Yes, Doug Shelby, I have seen it. And I've seen it happen on camera, like literally in front of me. There they are, clear as plain as day, and it's like fading out. Let's see, the chaperones left, maybe. Yeah, Duke. Fidgety aura. That was a very good statement there, and I'd have to agree. The more encounters I had with the others, and the woo and the weirdness, and I guess accepting it.
In the time before AT&T fiber internet.
Shame! Shame! Shame!
What did you do, love?
I ran out of internet data.
And they're making you shame walk.
No, it's just how I feel. Shame! Shame!
In the time after AT&T Fiber Internet.
Nice to have unlimited internet data, right?
Right.
The dawn of a better internet era with AT&T Fiber.
Limited availability in select areas. Check eligibility at att.com/getfiber. Restrictions apply.
If you're a general contractor, a subcontractor, or an owner, you want your jobs to be on time and on budget. And that means working with Autodesk Construction Cloud, software that lets your team design, plan, build, and operate from office to field. It means getting end-to-end solutions, seeing project data in real time, and preventing problems before they happen. Trusted on over 2 million construction jobs around the world. Build with Autodesk Construction Cloud. Try it free today at construction.autodesk.com.
The more it happened. So like I said, earlier when I went ahead and started just saying, okay, I'm going to follow the evidence wherever it leads, even if it's something, completely off the wall, that's when the door opened. And it was just crazy. I believe the connection is through bloodlines. Jenny White Bear, yes. My mother's side of the family were actual full-blown hillbillies. And yes, that's my aunts. Not only have they seen Sasquatch back in eastern Tennessee, but they'd also seen UFOs, lived in haunted houses, and I've had all of that as well. Digger Dog says, Bob, how are you feeling now? I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. And I saw your question earlier, Digger Dog. No, I don't live in Reno anymore. I am about 12 miles or so east of Carson City in a very tiny old mining town called Dayton. So, Dayton, Nevada.
Hey, sorry, my dog wanted to go out too, so I apologize.
Oh, I know that. Yes.
Hey, Dirty Filth, Game Vet, how are you? Thurston Howell III, good to see you. Horror Realm, thank you so much for that awesome super chat. Really appreciate your love of this show, man. And also a big thank you to Doug, Rex, Patrick, and Flash Forward. Really appreciate the super chats. It's a great way, excuse me, to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. So thank you so much. Bob, when we get to the top of the hour, hi, Penman. I will get you to wait through the break until I can properly say goodnight to you, okay?
Okay.
All right, bud.
Cam McSee, hillbilly to hillbilly.
All right. We got about 30 seconds.
Uh-oh. Well, I can get part of the cigarette done.
All right, buddy, here we go.
All right.
We pass the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears. wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America. And we want to remind you that all of our archives are free by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and now on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. For the final time tonight, Robert Boston is here. He's an experiencer of UFOs, aliens, Sasquatch, researches them all here in North America and around the world. Bob, welcome back.
Thank you.
All right, I'm going to save the audience questions for just a little bit more here, as I want to get into some UFOs and aliens. You have an interesting alien encounter that blew your mind.
Blew my mind. I was 10 years old, living in Citrus Heights, California, which is a suburb of Sacramento, kind of in the Northeast. This was in 1973, and I went outside to get the dogs' bowls to feed them. And as I walked around the corner of the house to grab the bowls, hovering over my backyard, this thing had to be 400 feet wide. Typical saucer type ship, just literally hovering over our backyard. And I turned and bolted for the door, and by the time I made it, the adrenaline dump literally made my legs go numb, and I ended up face down in the kitchen floor trying to drag myself in there and slam the door, the whole time yelling, UFO, UFO, UFO. My mom looks out the back window at the backyard. She doesn't see anything. And I said, up. And she looked up and freaked. That night was the very first time that I had experienced the sleep paralysis. And my mother also did the same thing. In fact, she had kind of a weird out-of-body experience that she remembered. But if that happened to me, I don't know. All I got was just woke up, there was somebody in the room. I couldn't move. It was absolutely petrifying. It happened again when I was 20 and again when I was 30.
Okay, someone in the room. What do you mean someone in the room?
It felt like there was somebody in my bedroom with me. So, walking around inside the bedroom. It was a really weird, bizarre experience. So that was the first time that I had actually seen anything like that or experienced anything in the realm of like the sleep paralysis stuff. But I had told my best friend the next day about it, and he was kind of really into that stuff. And so we started sitting out there at night. We'd lay out on out in the front yard where we had a really good clear view of the sky and just watch. And it was amazing how many of them were up there flying around. And I know the difference between a satellite and something that can make right angle turns and then take off at crazy speeds, which again, here we go. So when I had done a lot of UFO research back then, and then all of a sudden I find myself in the Bigfoot world, and I was shocked at how many times you could, take out Bigfoot and put in UFO, and the report would make sense. Or take out UFO and throw in Bigfoot, and the report would make sense. It was bizarre. That was bizarre. Saw quite a few of them when I was over in Germany on my first tour, which was actually the same neighborhood from where I was living just 2 years ago when I came home, a year and a half ago. There are I was in Southwest Germany, but all across southern Germany, there are so many UFO sightings up there. It's insane. And while I was out in the field one time, one of the things I used to do with Bigfoot is, if you point your camera somewhere and you look there, they'll hide. So I would turn the camera sideways and walk, and you just let it film the tree line. And I ended up getting about a 5-foot mantis-headed alien wearing what looks like a gray monk's robe. I'll send that to you. It was insane. It was absolutely insane. Head just like a praying mantis with teeth. And
I want to ask you about that momentarily, but first, going back to the craft you saw at 10 years old, what did it look like?
It looked like your typical, stereotypical disc, but really, really big. Light spinning on the top and a light spinning on the bottom, but none of your typical aircraft nav lights, which is the same as boat lights. They're exactly the same. Red on one side, green on the other, flashing in the back. So yeah, that was really something. Year ago or so, I had, I don't know what actually brought that back up in my memory, but I now with the internet these days, I wonder if anybody else saw anything in that area at about the same time. And I started looking into Citrus Heights and Sacramento sightings in 1973, and there was a lot of them between 73 and 76 in that area. A lot of UFO sightings. So that was pretty bizarre. It was validation, at least on my point, on my part. So I didn't think I was just losing my noodle or something.
I could totally see that. I can completely see that. So when you had the sighting of the mantid being, did you know it was there, or your camera caught it?
My camera caught it because I wasn't looking in the direction that the camera was pointing. But he did move. So, so it wasn't like, it was just a pareidolia or something like that. Watching the video in really, really slow speed, quarter speed, he does move a couple of times. He drops his head down and readjusts his shoulders a little. He's leaning up against this really big old beech tree, which, gray skin bark, and he was just leaning against that and moved a little bit, but it's such a small movement that you don't see it if you're watching it at normal speed. So yeah, it was.
And what do you think?
That was weird.
What do you think that being was doing there?
That's a very good question. And I had come out there the day before, and there was it was just kind of a different feel about the place. I didn't know what that was. And there was another researcher that had also done a lot of UFO work as well as Bigfoot work. And I had mentioned to her that the way that this thing felt, the way the woods felt, it just really felt foreboding and spooky. And she says, "Oh my God, it's the Greys. The Greys are there." And I thought, okay, yeah, whatever. And the very next day, boom, I get this gray mantis thing on camera. So I guess she was right after all.
Okay, so for people who may not know what a mantid looks like, what did it look like? And you mentioned a cape or a robe.
Yeah, well, it was like a robe. It appeared that it had a hood, but the hood was down, so the head was perfectly clear, and it literally this really sharp, angular triangle head with large eyes on the side of the head, and then there was no lips, but it had jagged teeth, top and bottom, just up out front. So I didn't see any antennas like a praying mantis would have, but yeah, it's a pretty bizarre. That has got to be one of the the top weirdness things that I had seen while I was over there. When you see it, you'll be like, "Oh my God!"
How close? How close were you to it?
About 25 feet. It was just inside the tree line, and I was just outside the tree line, walking down through the grass in that big meadow I was talking about. So yeah, it was very close, very, very close.
At any point, did it make movement towards you?
Not towards me, no. It was like it was trying to blend into that tree, the color of that tree, because they were pretty close to the same. And like I said, all it did is it moved its head down a little bit as I was walking by, and then it adjusted its shoulders a little bit. That was it. But you can only see that on like really, really super slow motion. So, crazy stuff. Really crazy stuff.
Why do you think that it was watching you? Do you think you just wandered into where it was, or do you think it was there for you?
I really hope that I just wandered in where it was, because if it was there waiting for me, I don't know. That's kind of terrifying. I wouldn't even want to go there. I haven't had any experiences since then that I know of, anyway. Although out the front door over here is the desert. I'm like right on the edge of this little tiny small town. And that is the western desert of Nevada. There's all kinds of weird stuff up there flying around. So sit out there on the steps in the summer nights, and there's Jupiter, there's Saturn, there's Mars, and what is that thing flying by at crazy velocities? So yeah,
that is kind of incredible. That is kind of incredible that you'd see that. But, the UFOs that you have seen, how many do you think you've seen to this date?
The last one that I saw was right after I got back here to the U.S., and I was over at a friend's house in the Bay Area, and that probably made somewhere 15, 18 flying craft in the sky. So, of course, the big one, was when I was 10. That was nuts. But the majority of them, the speed and the turns is I used to be a pilot before I lost my medical, and I've never seen anything be able to make turns like that. If there was a human being inside there, they'd become subatomic particles because of the G-forces. I mean, we're not even talking about tight turns, literally right angle turns at phenomenal speeds. So,
and for people who've never seen that happen, I've only seen it once. And that was with a couple people while we were actually sitting in a hot tub looking for UFOs at night. And and this happened just a few years ago, probably 2017, 2018. And we saw a triangle of lights coming towards us. And all of a sudden, the front tip of the triangle, as it's moving towards us, decides to do a sharp 90-degree turn. I mean, it is absolutely incredible how it can do that without stopping or slowing down or anything. Yeah. I mean, it defies the laws of physics.
Like that.
Yeah.
Nothing in between.
The funny part about it is these guys were heading east. From the southeast, they were heading east. And the one takes off and heads in between south and southeast. And the other two kept going, and all of a sudden they stopped right beside the handle of the Big Dipper. And they were just sitting there. And then eventually they vanished out.
When you saw that, did you have a feeling that they knew you were looking at them?
As stupid as it sounds, yes.
Yeah.
They knew.
They knew you were watching. Yeah. That's a very weird, a very strange sensation to think, how could they even see me all the way down here? But yeah, I've experienced that as well. It's a very strange feeling.
It is, and I don't think that a lot of people who haven't had the experience fully understand or comprehend the magnitude of like I've had friends who've been watching UFOs, and these are people I know and trust that are not going to pull the wool over my eyes, who've literally been watching and said, "Okay, can you just stop right there?" And it stops.
Yes.
And you don't want to believe it. I mean, the skeptic in you is saying, yeah, that's impossible. But then you know the person. You may not have been there. Exactly. You know the person, and you know that they're not lying. They're not going to BS you on that.
It's almost like there's some kind of a telepathic connection, as bizarre as that might sound, between the experiencer and the craft and its occupants. But where does, I've never really considered myself psychic, although back when I was doing some repo work, it seemed like nobody could ever hide their vehicles from me. But yeah, it's like there's some kind of a connection between the person on the ground and you drinking moonshine?
No, water. Always got water.
Is that a right jar? I just did a run yesterday. So yeah, it's a very, very bizarre sensation.
It is a bizarre sensation when you go along with that. Do you believe there is a tie between Sasquatch and UFOs?
I was down, probably maybe 10 or 15 kilometers from CERN. And I was down visiting a friend of mine, and I saw a UFO down there that was actually flying down through this valley. And it was a really, really steep valley because this was.
Over 2 million construction jobs around the world are taking their projects to the next level. From roadways to railways, from skyscrapers to homes. Make your vision a reality. Build with Autodesk Construction Cloud. Try it free today at construction.autodesk.com.
This is in the Alps, and I'm up on the top of this meadow, and it's tree lines around the bottom of it, and this UFO is typical, your saucer shape, is coming through there really slow, not making any noise, and then it finally stops and it hovers, and this light comes out of the bottom of it. And when that happened, there was about, 10 or 12 Sasquatches come running up out of that valley, out through those trees into the meadow. They saw me and started chucking rocks at me, but I was like way out of range. Did they just drop them off, or did that ship scare them out of the forest? I don't know. But that was the first and only time actually where I've actually seen them connected together, where there was a UFO and Sasquatch at the same time. So I've heard some of the native tribes here say that, they call them the Star People. But other tribes don't. So I don't know.
It is one of those questions. I mean, yet you hear, if you take an experiencer's word for it, you hear that they talk about stories about being on craft and Sasquatch-like creatures being on there. Whether in cages or sitting down beside them even, or walking around. I mean, it seems very odd and very Star Wars-like You know,
well, there you go. Yeah, Chewbacca.
Exactly. You know, but yeah. I wonder. See, I'm a firm believer that the entire phenomena is intertwined somehow. The cryptid phenomena, the UFO alien phenomena, ghosts. Have you had paranormal run-ins as well?
Oh yes. So after my the UFO sighting, a few years later, we ended up moving to Illinois, small little town, and the house that we ended up buying was as haunted as they come. I used to have to listen to my guitar get strummed in the corner in the middle of the night. That was some really crazy stuff. But I've had EMF spikes around UFOs. I've had EMFs in the ghost world. You know, everybody knows that one just from TV. And then EMF spikes with both the little people and Sasquatch. And they all seem to be right around the same numbers. You know, anywhere from 1,200 all the way up to about 16 to 1,800 millivolts. And so, what the heck? And again, on multiple occasions, I'd read UFO reports where you could take out UFO and throw in Sasquatch, and then you could take out Sasquatch on a report and throw in UFO. It's like none of them want you to see them unless it suits their purpose or something. You know, they I don't know how to explain that one better. When they want you to see them, you will see them, and when they don't, you know, where the big question isn't so much what are they, but where are they when they're not here? You know, are they in another dimension? Are they, you know, hiding inside a tree? Or are they, you know, what the heck is going on?
Very true.
So, yeah, I don't know.
Very, very true. We only have about 90 seconds left with you tonight. And Bob, I want to say that I have had a lot of fun learning about your experiences here. It's been an absolute pleasure to get to talk to you about your Sasquatch encounters, and I'm sure there's many more you could have shared with us, so that means we do have to bring you back, you know, for that. You know, but thank you for sharing your stories, man.
You're welcome. Absolutely. You know, I'm a little sick right now, cancer. So I don't know how much longer I've got, and I've got a lot of experiences that are, you know, locked up in my noodle. And when I'm gone, that's it. They're gone. So if something that I say helps somebody else out, you know, more power to them. Use it. Use whatever I've got. If it doesn't, you know, so be it. But if it does help, great.
Well, God bless you in your fight, man.
Thank you.
You know, and thank you for sharing your stories and your strength with us here on Spaced Out Radio. Bob Boston, everyone. Fantastic beard and mustache combination, by the way. We should point that out. Coming up next on Spaced Out Radio, we have the Swamp Dweller telling us another spooky story, this time about a Wendigo. The fedora-wearing John Hudson is stretching in the bullpen to take over with the unbiased UFO report. And we got Shirky Poo's news, the thought of the day, all coming up next in Hour 3. Good show, buddy. Good show.
Thank you.
Much love.
A lot of prayers and thanks coming in from the chat now.
Well,
I appreciate it, everybody. I really do.
They will send it to you, man. They'll send you the energy that you need, man.
I definitely appreciate it.
They're good that way.
It was kind of a shock because I was getting ready to go on a really long motorcycle trip. I just got back, and I was literally polishing my bike up, and I just had it serviced. Was polishing it up to hit the road the next morning. It was all packed up, and my doctor calls, says, we found a spot in your lung. Wonderful. Great. So
Yeah.
I still haven't made that trip. Almost 2 years ago, and I still haven't been able to make that trip.
Are you quite weak now?
I have problems like walking because of a lack of oxygen that's been able to get. I had a really bad infection in my lungs from a surgery. So the bottom half of both lungs is nothing but scar tissue. So I only have the top half. And now the left one has a tumor in there that's partially deflated that lung. And so now it's like if I walk more than about 50 yards, I start sucking wind. But during the summer, I was also passing out. At least that part isn't happening anymore. So I'm very thankful for that.
Well, that's good.
So, yeah, because that really was bad. I thought I'm dead any minute now. So, no, we'll see. We'll see how long it goes.
Well, my friend, let's try and get you on again here and tell some stories. We will bring you and Super Duke on to hang on out with us to talk Sasquatch one night. How about that?
Sounds good to me. Sounds good to me.
Let's do it. You got a good home here.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
All right, my friend. I will let you go so I can prepare for everything in hour 3. Thank you so much for the love, man. We'll talk soon.
You bet,
okay?
brother. You bet.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
What a great interview. You know what I liked about his stories? Very clear and concise. You know, there wasn't a lot of thinking, a lot of natural flow to the way he was telling his stories and his encounters. What a great man. Another great veteran. Yep. Good times. Give me 1 second here, guys. I gotta prepare Shirky Poo's news. There we go. The poodle has us ready. Obi Flett, thank you for that lovely super chat, my friend. Obi's coming to Las Vegas. Obi's coming to Las Vegas. I could feel it. I can feel it April 22nd to 24th. And it looks like we are going to be doing a live show in Las Vegas at the Golden Nugget. It's going to be great. If you want to go, you can go. There's no tickets. If you want to take in the live show, there will be tickets for that. But we're going to bring in some friends, some guests, and have a good time there. But the rest of the time, you're just hanging out with us. Have it good. Dirty Filth will be on the live show. He's going to tell you how to create a high-quality bald head and cartoons. It's going to be great. You never know, Jeremy. You never know. Bigfoot in Germany back at home in Nevada. Hey there, Bob Boston. What's happening, buddy? Admiral Nelson. Lovely Lavira. Joe Smith. I don't know where Nicole is. I think she worked a double shift today and went home to bed. Nose on Scent. How are you? Who else? Aunt Edna. Welcome back. Hey, the best name on YouTube, Dry Toast. Thank you so much for the love, man. Thank you to Dry Toast, Obi, 405er, Horror Realm, Doug, Rex, Patrick, and Flash Forward for the awesome super chats. It's a great way to support what we do on this show. Bigfoot Rob's going to Vegas too, everyone. Just to let you know. I think we're up to 20 now. 20 fans coming. That's pretty impressive. We're going to have fun. So stoked. We want to see you there, David Lopez. We want to see you there, buddy. Here we go, everyone.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Here we go with the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Xenolalia. Xenolalia is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets a password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and now on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We continue on tonight with the show as we have a great feature for you. Each and every night at this time, we head into the swamp, where our resident swamp dweller and his great YouTube channel provides some excellent creepypasta tales for you to enjoy. Let's go to the swamp.
Hi, Spaced Out Radio listeners. This is Swamp Dweller. It's time for your nightly dose of spookiness on the show. If you have an interesting encounter or a spooky story that you would like to share, be sure to submit them in at swampdweller.net. You can also find our YouTube channel at youtube.com/swampdwellerreads. Now, let's chill out, relax, and together, let's enter the swamp. First off, I'd like to let you know it's taboo to speak of them, or the others as it brings them after you. That said, here's my story. It was 25 years ago. I lived on the reservation with my family, and I was out with some friends. We went down to the creek to have a day of reed picking, and we were enjoying listening to the sounds of nature. I couldn't resist trying to catch a little frog I saw. I reached out to catch it, and it hopped away. Well, as I was expecting that, I started back a bit, and I fell forward and landed against a small boulder and sprained my ankle. I tried to get up, and I couldn't because my foot had swelled up really bad. I couldn't even take off my shoe or sock at this point. My friends came over to sit with me and figure out how we were going to get back to the adobe. There were 7 of us, and we were all too scared to walk back alone due to our parents always telling us never to leave each other at all costs. We were trying to think what to do when we were at a loss. We went silent for a while, and that's when we all noticed that the animals around us were quiet as well. We all thought nothing of it, and continued to think about the life and how we were going to get back to the adobe. I was apologizing for the 100th time when we heard a noise. I jumped and screamed out in pain. My friend, she grabbed my arm and told me to put my weight on her shoulders, and then another friend joined her. I'm between 2 of my friends limping along the pathway when we hear another noise, kind of like a fire popping noise, and yet no fire around for half a mile. Well, we stopped and we listened, and then a smell so bad and nauseating overcame us. I'm not even sure how to say how it smelled. It was kind of dead and rotted, like a fresh metallic smell mixed in with a little bit of garbage. What I'd say, this was definitely puzzling, as it wasn't no Bigfoot or anything like that. There was no wildlife we knew that smelled like that either. We were scared, and honestly, really freaked out. We decided my friend Scotty was going to investigate and find out what was causing the smell. We were fixating and arguing with him because we didn't want him to go. The smell became so strong, we all vomited, and we couldn't breathe without an overwhelming, disgusting, nauseous feeling overwhelming us. You may think I'm nuts, and at this point I wouldn't blame you, but I'm telling you this right now. This is the God's honest truth. When I was able to stop the nausea and vomiting, I looked up from between my friend's shoulders and saw the most horrifying thing I have ever seen in my life. Right on a hill in front of us, about 1.5 yards away, stood a skinwalker. He was starting towards us and making hardly any sound at all. We'd been warned about them and we knew we were going to have to get away from here. I decided, pain or not, I was going to just suck it up and run as best as I could. I wasn't going to let my friends go down because of me. I let go of their shoulders. I took a deep breath and I started to run as fast as I could. I really don't know how or why, but I was too focused on the running from him, but I barely felt my ankle at this point. We were all at a dead run down the path across the fields and finally reached the adobe. We all ran in, gasping for breath, and my mom and my friends' moms looked at us asking what had happened to us. We were so freaked out and running, as the hounds had been after us. Well, Sarah caught her breath first and started to ramble on about what had happened. I started calming down and collapsed and cringed from my sprained ankle. My mom came over with Mary Ann, my cousin's sister-in-law, and both started to work on my ankle. I got chided for being clumsy and trying to mess with wildlife. I was so badly in pain I wanted to scream. I asked if I could have some water, and my mom gave me a little bit. She told me to drink slowly as I get sick if I drink too fast. My sister and brothers came in and we were told to go get healing herbs from the shaman. I was passing in and out of awareness, and I could barely hear bits and pieces of my friends telling their stories about our ordeal. I must have passed out since when I woke up I was in my bed and my mom was sitting in a corner, churning bread to cook for dinner. She immediately came to my bedside and said the shaman had been here to see me, and he said I'll be fine. We all should be okay. He didn't think we were affected by the bad spirit, but we need to follow orders in order to stay safe from now, as he thinks it may be a warning to us. I still wonder to this day who he was and why he was warning us and about what. I will never know, but I since then have moved and grown up. But I never have and never will mess with wildlife for any reason unless it's to save a life. I'll just watch it from a distance and enjoy its beauty. I'm not in any hurry to be punished by the evil spirit for doing evil things. I prefer to be an okay person and to just worship our great spirit, our creator. You may not believe me, but I will tell you this one. Don't speak about them, and don't let them possess you or kill you.
That is one creature I do not want to run into a Wendigo. Thank you to Swamp Dweller. Make sure you go to his YouTube channel, Swamp Dweller, and hit that subscribe button as he continues to grow, and we love his feature each and every night here on Spaced Out Radio. It's that time once again, everyone. For the fedora-wearing John Hudson. The fedora-wearing John Hudson comes on in for the Unbiased UFO Report. And we love him when he does. He brings his fedora, he brings his chin hair, and he brings his UFO stories. John, welcome back.
Thank you. Thank everyone for hanging out and for sticking with us for this. And boy, it was quite a show tonight. So I'm glad you guys all have enough energy to stick for this. But I think things are finally starting to pick up a little bit.
I'm going to get you to bring your microphone up just a little bit.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I think it slipped down. There you go.
That's okay. Now you're sounding beautiful. Perfect. Now you're sounding beautiful. Hot day in the UFO world today, starting off with investigative journalist Ross Coulthart. Shadow person?
So this is man, I mean, honestly, with the right, I mean, honestly, I honestly, I could do like a 3-hour panel on this topic. So let me first set up. So what this came down from is a fantastic interview that Generation Z did of Ross Coulthart from a couple days ago. I highly recommend everyone go check it out. I'll provide links for it in my notes. I'm referencing it twice tonight. It's worth it. It's good. And in this interview, one of the things that Ross talks about, which he'd mentioned in other places, but to me, he'd never gone into this much detail except for here, is he talks about the fact that he was in communication with a person who held tickets. I mean, what I mean by they had clearances. And they were in that field. And basically what they told him was that at one point, while inside a very secured facility, meaning like a TS or high, TS plus type, facility, basically he saw what he believed was a shadow person enter the facility. And he never told anyone. Because shadow people are mystical, and therefore they're dangerous to talk about because you could get your career ruined or you could get ridiculed. So what happens? He doesn't say anything. Well, guess what I would do if I was in Russian intelligence? I would start offering bonuses for anything anyone could invent technologically that looked accidentally like magic. Because obviously that's the stuff that's going to get by because the Americans aren't going to report on it. This is terrifying. I mean, this is terrifying because the thing is that, and let's change the fact. Let's say there was no shadow person. Let's say he has a mental problem. He's working in a top secret facility. I want to know that. So I still want to know if he's seeing things, right? I mean, that's the thing is it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if he's seeing things because it's paranormal, if he's seeing things because he's mentally ill, if he's seeing things because there really is something there, if he's seeing things because he's had some kind of a effect, like creating a world where it's not safe for people to report. I mean, in the real world, like, you go to any public facility and it's like you see something, you say something. You see something, you say something. That's the rule. You see something, you say. You don't judge whether what you've seen is important or not because you don't always have the skills to do that. And so whatever you see, you report for this exact reason. And boom, what do you do here, right? I mean, to me, it's a very scary notion because, let's assume that all these sightings were something paranormal. Well, that's a little odd, actually. Probably someone should find out why they're doing that. But let's not assume that, and let's assume that this has been going on long enough that there have been some clever Russians that have figured out that, hey, if we get our tech to look enough like a ghost, they're not going to report it. And I mean, I assume people look into that already, but I mean, that to me, that's terrifying. The idea that you couldn't report something like that. And I understand why. I understand the practical matter of it, but I'm saying it's broken and it needs to be fixed.
Why do you think Ross Coulthart took so much time to talk about this?
So I need to go back and re-listen to the interview because if I remember correctly, I think he mentions this in his book. But if I remember it in his book, it's just like a 2-sentence quick passage. And it just so happened that it was a good interview. And these two cats that were interviewing him, they were asking a lot of really good questions, and they asked about this. And so he went into more detail than I'd ever heard him go into before. And the problem is that it's based on an anonymous source.
Right.
So there's only so much you can do with it.
No, I understand that. Ross seems like the type of guy, though, where he is trying, I've talked to him a number of times, but he seems trying really, really hard not to engage the woo. You know what I'm saying? Like, he doesn't want to go down that path, even though he knows that's the path eventually he's going to have to go down.
Yeah, I would agree. I would add to that, though. I would say that he's less resistant to the woo than I think his predecessors have been. I've seen more of it bleed into his reporting when it's been part of his reporting. Like when it's followed the data, he's fully willing to report it. It has to be something that he has tangible, something he can show for.
Interesting. Do you see him going more into detail about that now that he's kind of let the cat out of the bag?
Well, I don't know. I mean, he might report more on it, but I think the challenge is that with it being an anonymous source, it's just more of an anecdotal story to kind of point out something interesting than it really is something that's actionable. But to me, it hints at something that's so potentially serious that like someone needs to invent something actionable so someone can look into this. And it's not like I have any. I don't even at this point in my career, I don't have any contact with anyone that could make this happen. But to me, it's a very scary notion.
Sounds like they need some Merle there to check out the shadow people.
Yeah, there you go.
I know you don't like that. I know you want to go make toys for it, but this is a situation where we need Merle.
Oh no! Oh yeah! No! I mean, look, shadow people. I mean, let's face it. What they need is they need Merle to go in there and give them a big hug.
All right.
Big fluffy hug.
All right, let's move on to topic number 2 that you got for us tonight. UFO Jesus, a.k.a. Ryan from Post Disclosure World, apparently has an anonymous personal source discussing the current divide between Congress and the Pentagon. What's this all about?
Yeah. So this is fun. I mean, once again, look, this is the night of anonymous sources. I'll just warn you all. And so once again, this is an anonymous source. So what can you do with it? But it's a personal source to him. So it's someone that he trusts implicitly, and it's someone that has just told it to him. So he's bringing it to us as a unique source, and so he's sharing it with us. And so for those reasons alone, he should be recognized and thanked and all that stuff, regardless of whether it turns out to be accurate or not. But we've all been hearing grumblings enough around that there's already been support growing for what he reports. And basically what he reports is that there is a kind of a trifecta or a hat trick or a perfect storm brewing between Congress and the Pentagon over this entire topic because certain things have happened that have brought it to the forefront in a very grand way. And the things he talks about, and once again, I'll provide the link, and it's short, so I recommend everyone check it out. It's good. Is he talks about the fact that, that for many of the members of Congress, they were not aware of the nuclear connection before. Like they'd heard rumors of it, but they had no idea the gravity of it and the heaviness of it. That has had a huge impact. That there has been much more fidelity in data and video offered to many members of Congress. And essentially, what was being reported by this one individual is that is the kind of the second leg of what's going on. Is that data is just so impactful and so emotionally just stunning in a way that it's really shoving people over the edge of whether they want to act on it or not, right? And then you build those two things up, and then you have the third thing, which is the dawned realization that for the last 70 years, people have been blowing smoke up their rear ends. I mean, it's like this has not been a shining example of transparency and continuity of data between the defense apparatus and the voted in apparatus, right? I mean, this is 70 years of. I mean, I don't like to you're much better at picking on them for this than I am. I don't tend to do this, but let's face it, there's a whole lot of good reason to be mad. And so you take these three things together, and you can start really seeing how the groundwork has been laid for a lot of people in Congress that maybe were, in the middle or even a little on the outside of needing to act. And these three things, and the thing is that even if he wasn't reporting this, I think these are three things that a lot of people could come up with, and we could just come up with noodling it over a whiteboard as reasonable catalyst for what would drive this. But the fact that Ryan has someone that he knows and trusts who's telling him point blank, these are the things that are happening, and the divide is growing and it's getting ugly, and it's not getting better, it's getting worse.
Do you ever wonder where Ryan gets his sources from? This is a guy who came out of nowhere and all of a sudden has all these big name people talk to him. And good for him. At least they're talking to someone. Do you think it's because of his intriguing platform that he has?
I assume they're little like chubby cherub UFO Twitter creatures that like bring him. Yeah, I honestly like. I think that in the beginning, not taking anything away from what Ryan's done, but I think a lot of what's happened to Ryan is because of his excellent timing, and he was such just a bright, fresh, fun, non-serious face in all this in the beginning. And I think he just, I mean, let's face it, at the end of the day, anyone doing talking like this online is participating in a personality contest. And Ryan's just luckily a likable guy, and so I think that plays into a lot of it. I think he is a very likable guy. But I think this is a good story, and I hope he pursues it, because the thing is that I think it's great everything that he's done. To me, the only point of doing what he's doing is if he can eventually turn it into something bigger and something maybe more impactful. And that may not include journalism. It may be a different route, but it could include journalism. And so I'd like to see him do more stuff like this. So I think it's cool. I'd like to see him encouraged.
I think it's absolutely fantastic. But, we have talked about, and we're going to probably continue this conversation when we get back from break. We have talked about this great divide. Luis Elizondo has talked about it as well. And in some of the private chats I've had with others have talked about this incredible divide between the factions of government, those who do not want any disclosure compared to those who think we need to start learning about this. I mean, no offense to UFO Jesus there, but I mean, is this really something new, learning about this great divide?
No, and I hope I tried to allude to that, and maybe I should have done a better job, but I think at one point he does as well. No, that's the thing, is that everything that he said is all, for the most part, that we've been hearing rumors of from different places. But what this is it all put together with a nice, pretty bow on it. In that he's hearing these things, he's hearing fairly specific details that he reiterates if you go listen to it, and he's hearing all three things from one source, and for him it's a trusted source. So for him, it's a data point that updates his model very fast in his mind, because it's a trusted source for him.
No, that's very true. John Hudson's here with the Unbiased UFO Report, as we got about 30 seconds left. John, when we look at Washington, D.C. and everything that's going on around this, there is a lot of silence around this so far, and not many people are talking about this subject. Do you expect that to heat up very soon?
I think ultimately a lot of them are they're going to listen to their constituents, right? They're going to go back home at the first chance they have, and they're going to talk to people. They're going to do town halls. They're going to listen and prod, and they're going to feel it, because basically if their voter base stands behind them, even if a faction of it does, they'll go gung ho. But they got to be supported.
John, we're going to continue this when we return from the break. John Hudson's Unbiased UFO Report continues on Spaced Out Radio when we return. Almost called you John Hudson. Big happy birthday to our favorite set of twins, gorgeous Jean Beckett and her brother Preston. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear gorgeous Jean Beckett and brother Preston. Happy birthday to you. There you go. Hey, Data, how are you? Bill F.N. Murray. A.K.A. Preston Beckett. Beckett.
It's weird having a break in this.
Your daughter there tonight?
Hmm.
Very nice. Very nice.
Wasn't the plan, but my wife is having some stomach problems. She's going to come pick her up tonight, but my wife's not feeling well, so basically she just stay with me.
Oh
tonight.
well.
Kind of cool.
Oh well.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
That's
yeah,
such a hard thing. Such a hard thing to say no to.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I know. It was fun. Even she got excited about it because she knows we'll stay up late playing video games.
Thank you, Grantavius. Charge. Stevie Franchise, what's going on, man? Don't forget, this weekend, Lynn Wallington is back. Yeah, she's beat the tar out of COVID, and she's going to be back on the air tomorrow and Sunday, starting at 6 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. Her guest tomorrow, the gorgeous and talented Carlene Linksweiler. They'll get into everything from hypnotherapy to UFOs, aliens, ghosts. They're always a great time. And afterwards, the lovely and talented John Hudson will join Gemma Jade and Big Willie for the After Hours show. It's going to be great. They always have a great time. That starts at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 Eastern. And they go for 3 hours. Fantastic show. Fantastic. 2 hours if they want. 3 usually. Whatever they want. That's kind of what they do. So, lots of entertainment for you on our YouTube channel this weekend. I will be speaking at UFOCon 2022, February 25th to 27th, in San Francisco, California. I believe Lynn Wallington will be speaking there too. I believe so. And that will be awesome that weekend. Awesome. And we're looking forward to it. And looking forward to getting out of Canada for a little bit and head down to the U.S. Make sure you guys truly do exist down there. There will not be a live stream from San Francisco, but when we go to Las Vegas in April for the SOR party, April 22nd to 24th, we are going to be broadcasting live for there. We're going to do a live show. We're going to bring on some special guests. We are going to bring in some cool people. We're going to hang out with all of you guys, and we're going to have a good time. A very, very good time that night. Lynn's going to host it all because it's her night. We're going to get hooked up on YouTube, you know. So if you want to go to Vegas and you're 100% confirmed, make sure you let me know so we could grab you a swag bag by going to our website, spacedoutradio.com. It's all right there. And then email saying that you are going at info@spacedoutradio.com. February 25th to 27th in San Francisco, Coral, at UFOCon2022.com. We've rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate it. Want to remind you that if you've missed most of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and now on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We continue on tonight with John Hudson and the Unbiased UFO Report as we are hanging on out. And right before the break, UFO Jesus, otherwise known as Ryan from Post Disclosure on YouTube, recently made a video stating about how there's a government official who let him know, off the record, well, not off the record, but secretly, as a source, about the Great Divide in Washington, D.C. regarding UFOs. John, welcome back.
Thank you. And as we were mentioning before, nothing, unless there was some detail that Ryan mentioned that I didn't catch, none of this is, shocking news.
At Enterprise, we know the time is coming for us to get out and go again. To visit all the places we didn't know meant so much. But we're all still going at our own speed. With Enterprise, you get the peace of mind of our Complete Clean Pledge, curbside rentals, and low-touch transactions. As more and more people hit the road, we're going the extra mile to help. Connecting you to all the places you love. Enterprise.
If you're a general contractor, a subcontractor, or an owner, you want your jobs to be on time and on budget. And that means working with Autodesk Construction Cloud, software that lets your team design, plan, build, and operate from office to field. It means getting end-to-end solutions, seeing project data in real time, and preventing problems before they happen. Trusted on over 2 million construction jobs around the world. Build with Autodesk Construction Cloud. Try it free today at construction.autodesk.com.
Information. It's more details in some cases. Like I said, it's all coming from one source, which is nice. It's certainly a much more convenient source. But it is, it is, and let's face it, right? It speaks to human nature. It speaks to how most of us would feel in that exact same situation. Those are the three pillars of frustration that would arise for a lot of us. And you put those three together, and some of us are going to boil over the edge.
Okay. Why do you think there is this great debate going on? Many people may not even know that it's happening.
Very plainly, I think anytime you've been doing one thing for 70 years and people want to do something different, you're going to have each group pick their sides and debate the issue. But if you drill down just a smidge, what you have is you have you have several different factions that are basically fighting their position for different reasons. You have some that feel that others can't be trusted with technology. You have some that feel that they can be trusted with technology, and that's exactly the problem. We don't want them using it, and we don't want them getting better than us, so we have to keep it to ourselves because we want to stay 50 years ahead. There's other people that believe that we don't know what we're doing, and we're lucky we haven't blown up the planet, and so we shouldn't let anyone else touch it. There's so many options. It's endless.
No, it's very endless. But, the one big debate is, when it comes to politicians in this subject, is can we really believe that they have been naive on this subject for so long? Granted, in order to have that job, you have to have the ego the size of Manhattan in order to make it or break it, because politics will chew you up and spit you out very, very easily if you don't have a strong backbone. And I can see where UFOs don't really make it to the scorecard regarding that subject. But I'm still a little bit obtuse, if I could use that word about myself,
Gang of Eight.
Gang of
I
Eight.
think the Gang of Eight had some knowledge.
What is the Gang of Eight for our people?
The Gang of Eight are basically the 8 members of Congress that hold the different appointments within Congress that require the highest level security clearances of any other positions in Congress. So basically, the eight individuals with the highest level clearances within Congress are considered the Gang of Eight. And its members don't change super often, but obviously it does change because, every 6 years you're rotating senators and every 2 you're rotating House.
No, and I can understand that and believe that, and that makes sense. Do you think, though, that the way this subject is going, that it is about money, that it is about profit, that it is about jobs, if it's all of a sudden announced, privately or publicly, that there are crash retrievals?
No, I mean, I don't think it's, no, I don't think the government's lack of desire for disclosure has anything at all to do with profit. I think Lockheed's lack of desire for disclosure probably has a lot to do with profits. I think that Northrop's, and I think that Boeing, and I can give you a whole list of companies that I can bet you are very, very, very focused on it. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that math really works for me.
Why?
I don't know. I mean, I guess it's possible, but to me, it's
well, don't go back on your word here. I'm going to call you out on this one. Don't go back.
But I just realized I just lost track of what we were talking about. So remind me again, so I can make sure I covered it right.
In regards to whether or not it's about profit.
Oh no, it's not for profit. Because the thing is that people in government, the government is actually a nonprofit. They don't make money. So like you don't get more salary. You don't get a bonus, right? You don't get right? Like what you get is you might get a promise that when you get out in 8 years, you get a job, right? You might get that kind of thing, right? But it's now the people within these companies, yeah, for them it's all about profit, right? But you got to realize that I come from a different mindset than a lot of people, in that it's my understanding of the way all this works that the instant anything goes from research to any type of production whatsoever, it has to be farmed out to the private companies. And those private companies have to have expertise in what they build, which means that any innovations that you use in those vehicles, they need to be learned at least enough to design, manufacture, and repair them, right? And so, as far as I'm concerned, I don't think anything illegal happened in that transfer of information. I don't think it could have happened any other way. I think it legally had to happen the way it did. And essentially, now that those private companies have it, they do have their purse strings tightly tied to the government. So if the government said, you must turn this over, they will. They don't have a choice in the matter. They'll probably sue for a couple of years. But, I mean, let's face it, Lockheed's a public company with shareholders. They're worried about people's 401ks.
As they should be. Just, I don't know. I think there's a lot of naivety being played on this subject from the bill on down. That's just me.
Oh, yes. Well, and keep in mind that, like, the Gang of Eight, I mean, those guys, I don't think they knew a lot, but quite honestly, they could know everything. And they will stand in front of you and play out whatever level of knowledge they're supposed to have. And they'll play it to the T. And it'll be hard to tell.
All right, John, final section tonight. The Department of Energy naturally perfect for UAP research. What does this mean?
Yeah, so this is just basically me taking advantage of what Ross talked about in that interview to draw attention to one of my hypotheses. It's just completely self-serving.
Oh, no, that's cool. I want to hear this.
So basically, in this great interview that Ross did, and once again, I'll provide the link, one of the things he talks about is his belief that essentially that if there is any material or any recovered material that has ever been in possession of the U.S. government or is still in possession of the U.S. government and hasn't been given off to private companies, that where it is, if anyone has it, it's at the DOE. And so they basically break out and talk a little bit about why the DOE is such a a big deal for him. And essentially, I wrote this document basically, saying that that's exactly what I think is happening, right? And so I can't read this entire document that I wrote because it would take too bloody long to read it. But essentially, and I'll post a link to it. But because as you guys can tell, I'm a teeny bit verbose. And essentially what I point out is at several levels that, if you look at the DOE is responsible for detecting a detonation of any nuclear device above ground on Earth, full stop, no exceptions. So that's a responsibility, okay? 2, they're responsible for responding to any incident anywhere on the globe within a very short period of time. So any plane goes down with nuclear material, any missile goes down that shouldn't have, anything gets dropped by accident, some other country does something by accident, we will still deploy. And so we already have teams of highly specialized people on call, ready at a drop of a dime to fly anywhere in the world, cordon off the place, come up with cover stories, move large material out of the location, because they're already used to having to move reactors and missiles and airplanes and so forth. So they already have all that kind of gear, right? And so essentially what you have is that you have, and it goes into, they have their own classification system. So they have a completely separate classification system that includes 12 broke out classifications, which gives them a lot more fidelity into how they divvy out security within their organization. They have control of the 17 national laboratories at the 17 national universities. So they have control of much of the research that's been going on, and they have control over what research is, they can influence that research, right? And finally, because of the testing that they've done in the past and because of the storage of nuclear material, they have a tremendous amount of underground facilities that they could be then using for storage of other material. And if you think about it, if you have like a large area where 23 containers are full of dirty nuclear material, and the middle container has nuclear material, has UFO material in it, right? You're not going to care, right? So I mean, it's to me, it just, to me, the UAP is just, if you just take everything that the DOE is meant for, and take nuclear explosion, atomic, and just replace that with UAP, you can see how, so why set up another division to do this? Why bother going through the effort of creating a whole other division that can respond like this, that has these kind of sensors, that has the acoustic network across the ocean floor, that's listening for acoustic sounds over a certain decibel rating, that's looking for seismic activity. I mean, the DOE is watching this planet. They're the ones doing infrared on a global scale. They're the ones and they've had to do it. They had no choice. They've been forced to do it because they were responsible for nuclear material. And so just by accident or not, they end up being geared, looking to be purpose designed to handle this material.
It would make sense. That's if the private contractors, John, don't get their hands on it first, like Lockheed Martin or Boeing or places like that, Raytheon.
Right, but they have to get it if it wants to be used. You can't use it otherwise. There's no way to use it. You can't build anything. You can't, the Army can't build tanks. Bad thing, like all hell would break loose, right? They have to. Everything has to be farmed up for competition.
Well, I very much hear you, man. I very much hear you. We only got about 1 minute left here, so where do you see this going? if your theory is correct, where do you see it going?
Honestly, nowhere at all. DOE is a vault. I mean, they have their own SAP programs. I mean, they're a whole different beast. No, it's they'll release what they want to. Nothing will be forced.
Gotta love them. Fedora John, another great episode of the Unbiased UFO Report. Once again, you're kicking butt, taking names, and bringing us all the news on what's happening. We absolutely love you here, buddy.
Thank you much. Thank you, everyone, for listening, and appreciate it. And if anyone has any other questions, you can always hit me up on Twitter. Happy to talk about it.
All right. John Hudson, the fedora-wearing one, with the Unbiased UFO Report. Let's get to Shirky Poo's news. What's Shirky Poo got for us tonight? The 4 most common places that aliens use for their bases on or nearby Earth are alleged to be underwater, inside volcanoes, preferably active, on the moon, or in the frozen tundra of Antarctica. The reasoning behind these choices is thought to be because they are all places where, 1, most human beings will never ever look, and 2, even if they did, it would be very difficult to do so. One prolific UFO researcher, Scott Waring, has been studying these locations for years and recently made another potentially significant discovery. Waring writes on his website that he was pursuing Google Earth, doing his usual investigations, when he came across something strange. He says, I found a buried location of an ancient alien structure, he writes. When I changed the time of the photos, an earlier photo reveals an airport runway freshly made, dozens of trailers, tractors, and it looks like a mound what was being excavated by scientists and military. I believe they've found an alien structure from ancient times under the snow and ice. While scrutinizing the discovery, Waring said he also noticed something else. I also found the face of Jesus near the excavation site, he writes. The face is that of a male with long hair, beard, mustache, long face, and a crown of thorns around his head, not to mention that his eyes, nose, and chin and cheeks all clearly showing. These 2 locations are so close to a standing dark figure I found last year on the snowy mountains. It's the figure of a huge bipedal being that could be only an alien. Because Sasquatch might be, I don't know. It can't be just a coincidence, he says, that all these pieces of evidence are so close to each other. I believe they are all related and build on the theory the ancient aliens once inhabited Antarctica. Waring also astutely points out Jesus was an alien who came to Earth to instill morals and rules to help a chaotic early humans rise to enlightenment. He also added in his comments of the video below that he may actually be the Son of God too. Both could be true. Wow. Wow. It's a bold claim. A video from late 2021 of unknown flying objects over Illinois has surfaced, and it has people wondering if the vanishing lights were UFOs. UFO Sightings Daily reported the odd occurrence. The video was taken on November 26 by a witness who was driving in Beach Park. Video shows several dots of lights soaring in the sky. The lights make different formations while floating through the sky, and as the man videotaping them zooms in, they disappear. Yeah. So, well, let's check out this video. What's it going to hurt? What's it going to hurt? You know, I know in Radio Land you can't really see videos, but I'm curious. I'm curious. Let's check it on out. Let's see. So, basically, the guy's driving down the street, and there's 3 formations of a light looking like a triangle that is moving to the side. So you have the point up in the sky, and it's moving left to right. Interesting. There's power lines in the back. This video is like 3 minutes, 42 seconds. And, oh, there come other lights. Okay. And now there's another scene, a little bit different area, where it looks like you're having a Phoenix Lights type situation happen. I don't know. To me, these lights don't look like UFOs. I'm no expert on anything like this. I'm definitely not. I leave that to the other people, because I'm not a researcher. But these lights really do look like something else. They're all moving at the same speed. I don't know. Could it be Chinese lanterns? Could be. It's not moving very fast. Well, you can be the judge of whatever you want to believe. Let's move on here. Astronomers recently have made a remarkable realization that they have identified a planet that they call WASP 103b, an exoplanet about 1,500 light years away. Best part about it? Shaped like a potato. Oh, the Idahoans will like this one. Yes, the potato planet has a gravitational force, and it seems to be a little bit oblong, and apparently larger than Jupiter. Great. So we got a spud planet, larger than Jupiter. They're thinking it's blue in color. Looks like an egg. Looks like an... I don't know what these guys see in this stuff. I can't see anything. All right. A large green fireball illuminated the night sky over Hungary, captured on video in various locations, particularly bright meteors streaking across the sky. The light in the night skies spotted across Hungary and was caught on camera. It was unclear whether the entire meteor burned up in the atmosphere or whether some of it made impact. Who knows? But you know what? It's time for us to head on home tonight. Big thank you to the fedora-wearing John Hudson, Captain Shirk for the news, Swamp Dweller for a great spooky story, and Bob Boston for some amazing Sasquatch encounters. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at home, at work, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone listening in on YouTube, Twitch, LGAB, Revolution Radio, Spreaker, Facebook, the Space Travelers Club, and on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends, we're watching. We own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo Train has docked for the night. But soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night.
If you're a general contractor, a subcontractor, or an owner, you want your jobs to be on time and on budget. And that means working with Autodesk Construction Cloud, software that lets your team design, plan, build, and operate from office to field. It means getting end-to-end solutions, seeing project data in real time, and preventing problems before they happen. Trusted on over 2 million construction jobs around the world. Build with Autodesk Construction Cloud. Try it free today at construction.autodesk.com.